Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me again, Brittany.
On Monday, Congress certified President-elect Donald Trump's win in November, and he will be taking the oath of office later this month. You're reporting, though, that he's bucking tradition by, quote, redirecting inaugural swag funds to his PAC. So break this down for us. What's exactly happening?
So the first president to sell inaugural, or president-elect rather, to sell inaugural items online appears to have been Barack Obama at his first inaugural for 2009. In every subsequent inaugural, including Donald Trump's first one, the proceeds from inaugural merchandise went back to the nonprofit that was that was putting on like a bunch of events to go along with the inaugural, like concerts, things like that. In this instance, though, if you look at the small print, that is not what is happening with Donald Trump's second inaugural. Instead, the funds are going to a PAC, which is then divvying the funds up between two other political committees, one of which is the Republican National Committee, and the other of which is a PAC called Never Surrender that Trump has, that's Trump's leadership PAC, and he can use to pay personal expenses.
So before we talk about even more so where these funds are going, what exactly is this merch? What does that swag look like? Give us some price points. Give us more details.
Yeah, there are about 40 items there. Koozies, pins, t-shirts, fleece. It ranges from, I think it was like $12 for a pair of buttons to a $70 quarter zip pullover. So nothing too extravagant, which is interesting because with Biden and Obama, they had some very pricey merchandise up there that was put out by some high-end designers and artists, whereas Trump, it's all much cheaper than that.
So you buy a koozie, you buy a button from the celebrating Trump's inauguration. That's not going to a nonprofit. That's instead going to a PAC. So what is that money going to be spent on?
We don't know for sure. The PAC, so the PAC that his leadership PAC, that the part of the money is going to, the 20% of the funds are going to, is actually, it used to be his presidential campaign, and then after the campaign, they converted it into a PAC. That PAC has not filed any financial disclosures since it was converted. It doesn't have to. It won't have to till the end of the month. So we'll get a better idea of what it's spending its money on at that point. Now, Trump has other leadership PACs, which have been spending a lot of money on Trump properties, paying his airlines, and also or paying for his airplane, and also covering legal fees.
You broke this down in the article, but if you can break it down for us now, what is the difference here on the rules of where you can spend from a campaign contribution versus, let's say you give money to a leadership PAC, what can they do with that?
So campaigns are not allowed to spend money on personal expenses. That has to just be stuff explicitly for the campaign. There's a wide range of how the FEC interprets that. Leadership PACs, on the other hand, they don't even have that lip service. They were able to spend it on other expenses. The thought being that leadership PACs are not connected to the actual candidate in the campaign, which is interesting because, leadership in PAC implies there is a leader, and it is actually connected to, does have a connected name to it. But in this instance, Trump has a lot more flexibility with how he can spend the money.
You and I, me and your team, the Money in Politics team at Forbes has reported extensively on how Donald Trump, during his time in the White House and beyond, how he's profited from his politics. This appears to be one of those times, but I want to talk about the legality here. Is this ethical? Is this unethical? Is this even legal? What does that look like?
Well, best we can tell, it looks like it's legal. One expert I spoke to said, if the small print that discloses that the funds are going to to his PAC instead of a nonprofit is considered too small, it could be some issue of wire fraud. Because if you go to the website, it's on the website that it is the the inaugural committee, and then in the top there's a little button that says merchandise, and if you click that, that's what redirects you to another site. So a lot of people would not even be expecting it to go to another site to go see that. So if that's considered deceptive, it could be a problem. But otherwise, it does not look like there are any sort of issues with that. What you have is like another example. I think we've probably done 24 videos with these examples, Brittany, where it is Donald Trump figuring out a way to take some money out of a pot that previously no one else was taking money out of. And in this case, even during his first inaugural, the money just went to the nonprofit, but Trump has figured out, the money doesn't have to go to the nonprofit. There are other things we can do with this. And in this case, it's going, some of it's going back to his PAC, and the rest of it's going to the RNC.
Has his team responded as to why they figure out, hey, the money's not going to the nonprofit, we can spend it elsewhere? Have they responded to your story?
They did. So when I was reporting this, I reached out, and that a spokesperson for the inaugural committee said that they are the reason that it was on this fundraising platform site was because they just did not have enough time to stand up a standalone, e-retailing page, just given the short time between election day and inauguration day, which is interesting because that has been the same since the 1930s, I believe, when the 20th Amendment was ratified. So it's the same exact situation that they had previously, that Obama dealt with, that Biden dealt with, and they all figured out a way to sell merchandise from the nonprofit's website and have the proceeds go back to the nonprofit. And they didn't even answer why. Okay, fine, maybe that's why you stood up the store on the fundraising platform website, not the nonprofit's website. But that still doesn't mean you have to keep the money. You could certainly have routed that money back to the nonprofit, but they didn't answer that part.
And it appears from your reporting that Trump's team has figured out back in 2017 how to set up that in that same exact time frame, correct?
Absolutely. He was a little reluctant to offer inaugural merchandise last time. I can't really remember the reason why. There was just one item that he had up there. It was a collector's license plate. And yes, if you go to the saved copy of that website in archive.org, you will see that, yes, you purchase it in exchange for a contribution to the nonprofit.
And have there been any other questions before on how he spent inaugural funds in the past?
Why, yes, I'm glad you asked. He got dinged after the last one by the DC Attorney General, who accused him of misusing nonprofit funds in overpaying for rooms at his own hotel, throwing a party for his adult children, and using it to pay a pre-existing debt for the Trump organization. And Trump ended up settling those claims. They ended up paying the Washington, D.C. Attorney General's office $750,000, which was then donated to charity.
Well, Zach, per usual, I appreciate your reporting. And as Trump comes into office, his second term gets kicked off, I know you and I are going to have plenty of more conversations.